Okay, so you're ready to give your home that modern farmhouse look, right? But like with so many paint colors, how do you even choose?
It can be overwhelming.
Seriously, it's way more than just picking a pretty color. Paint is the foundation of the whole look.
Exactly. And that's over 55 modern farmhouse paint palette color schemes by Cardinal Memorials is so helpful. It's like they read your mind. They knew we'd be talking about this.
It's like having a designer on speed dial. So what's the secret sauce? What did you learn from this color Bible?
Well, they really focus on the importance of starting with neutrals.
Right, those classic farmhouse colors, whites, beiges, grays.
Yeah, think of it like building a house, you need a strong foundation
Mhm.
before adding all the bells and whistles.
Okay, makes sense, but those colors come in so many shades. How do I narrow it down?
Well, the book breaks down those essential neutrals into a few key categories. First up are the whites.
Ooh, I love a good white.
Me too. But we're not talking just any white. They have to be clean and crisp, like Sherwin-Williams Alabaster or Benjamin Moore's Simply White. Imagine a freshly painted farmhouse fence. That's the vibe.
Yes, super clean and crisp, but I've totally been burned before. A white looked completely different on my wall than it did at the store.
Oh, tell me about it. That's why lighting is so important. The source stresses that. Natural light versus artificial light, north-facing versus south-facing rooms. It all plays a role.
Seriously, it's like trying on clothes in the wrong lighting. I learned my lesson with a bargain, white paint once. Turned out it had a crazy yellow undertone in my kitchen. Never again.
It's amazing how much a color can change throughout the day. Cardinal Memorials really hits home the importance of testing those samples in your actual space.
Testing is key. So we've got the crisp whites. What's next?
Well, to add depth and prevent that stark white feeling, you got to go for warm beiges and taupes.
Okay, I can see that. Adding a touch of warmth and earthiness. Any favorites from the book?
They love Sherwin-Williams Accessible Beige, and I have to agree, it's like a chameleon. Depending on the light, it can look like a warm greige or even a subtle sandy hue.
Ooh, a warm hug for your home.
Exactly.
But what about folks who prefer a cooler, maybe more modern vibe?
For a serene feel, they recommend soft grays.
Ooh, dreamy.
Yeah.
Any go-to shades from the source?
They love Bear Silver Drop and Benjamin Moore's Gray Owl. Imagine a spa-like bathroom retreat.
Okay, so we've got our trusted neutrals.
Yeah.
But there's got to be more to this story, right? It
Go
can't
on.
be all about neutrals.
You know it. While they're essential, the source emphasizes that going beyond the basics is where the real fun begins. It's about finding unexpected twists. And one way they recommend doing that is by embracing, wait for it, unexpected color pairings.
Ooh, I love where this is going, like adding a dash of hot sauce to your favorite dish. What kind of pairings are we talking about?
Well, one they suggest is charcoal and blush. It's a sophisticated spin on that classic black and white combo.
I can already see it. Charcoal walls with pops of blush and the throw pillows and artwork. Stunning.
Right. And for an earthy vibe, they suggest olive green and terracotta, like a sun-drenched Tuscan villa.
I'm in. Those colors just scream warmth and hospitality. They'd be perfect for a dining room, with lots of natural wood, maybe some vintage botanical prints on the walls. Okay, give me another unexpected pairing. I'm on a roll.
Okay, here's my personal favorite. Navy and mustard. Bold, modern, and a little unexpected.
Stop it. I love it. Navy cabinets in a kitchen, brass accents and pops of mustard in the bar stools, and maybe a patterned rug.
No, you're getting it. And speaking of getting creative with color, the source also dives into some more advanced painting techniques like color zoning, especially useful for those open concept layouts.
Oh yes, color zoning. I've heard that term, but what exactly is it and how can we use it?
It's basically using color to subtly define different areas within a space without having to build walls. It's like creating little pockets of personality.
So instead of one paint color throughout an open living and dining room, you might use one shade for the living area and a slightly different one for the dining area to visually separate the two.
Exactly.
Oh.
Or you could paint a cozy reading nook in a slightly darker hue to set it apart, or use a bolder color on a kitchen island to create a focal point.
I'm starting to see how strategic color choices can make such a difference.
And just when you thought we'd covered all the color bases, the source throws us another curveball. Moody hues.
Moody hues. Intriguing, but a little intimidating. I tend to gravitate towards light and airy. What are moody hues exactly, and how do they fit in?
Well, while the style often leans toward lighter palettes, the source suggests that deeper, moodier shades can bring a sense of sophistication and drama, especially to smaller spaces. We're talking about shades like forest green, navy blue, or even charcoal gray.
Oh, I see where you're going. Like a powder room with deep green walls, brass fixtures, a vintage mirror. so moody and chic. I can see why the source recommends using these colors in smaller doses for an unexpected touch. Now I'm curious, does the source have specific examples of how to use these colors?
Oh yeah, that's where things get really fun. We're about to dive into specific palettes straight from the source's playbook.
Well, don't leave me hanging. Spill the
All
beans.
right, get ready for some serious color inspiration.
Okay.
The first palette we'll dive into is all about warmth.
Love it. Warmth, yes.
Think cozy nights by the fireplace, Sunday brunch with friends.
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Tell me more.
So picture this. Walls painted in Sherwin-Williams accessible beige
Okay,
with crisp white trim in alabaster for that farmhouse feel.
I'm listening.
And here's where it gets good. Touches of rookwood antique gold woven in through the wood accents.
Oh my gosh, stop. I need to book a trip to a charming countryside cottage right now. I can just picture it. The worn wooden beams and vintage brass accents against those warm walls.
Right, creating that lived-in, loved-in vintage feel.
Yes.
And the rookwood antique gold just adds that touch of history,
Mhm.
Like the space has been cherished for generations.
I love it.
But if you want a bolder look, the source has got you covered with a totally different vibe.
Okay, hit me with it. I'm ready for bold.
This one is all about contrast. We're talking Benjamin Moore's Hail Navy for the cabinets.
Ooh, navy cabinets.
Yes, set against simply white walls.
Oh my gosh, navy cabinets are so in right now, but this sounds like it's done in a way that's not too trendy or overwhelming.
You got it. And to kind of ground those contracting elements, they suggest Revere pewter for the island.
Okay, I am already redoing my kitchen in my head. This just screams modern farmhouse to me. But before we get too far, what about those of us who are a little more drawn to calm, natural vibes? Is there a palette for us peace-loving folks?
Oh, absolutely. The source has something for everyone.
Good.
If serenity is your thing, then get ready. Imagine an accent wall in Bear's Watery. It's this tranquil blue-green color.
Okay, I'm already feeling calmer.
Right, paired with Swiss coffee trim for that classic crispness.
Watery is just such a greeny color. I can see it in my bedroom as an accent wall behind my bed.
Yes, and to complete the look, pops of sage green through furniture and textiles.
Oh my gosh, obsessed. This Augie's is so soft, calming, and inviting. I feel like we need to pause for a second, though, because I know even with these specific color combos, it's still hard to picture it in a real space.
You're so right. That's what I love about this source.
Yeah.
It doesn't just list the colors, it actually shows you how they work in a real room with specific design elements.
Right, because it's not just about the paint itself, it's how you style it.
100%. They talk about incorporating natural textures.
Okay, give me all the cozy vibes.
Right. Think about linen throws, soft cotton cushions, rustic wood furniture.
I'm all about it. It's those extra details that really make a difference.
You got it. And they highlight how important wood tones are, specifically wood furniture and accents.
Okay, yes. But what kind of wood? Are we talking sleek and modern, rustic and reclaimed?
That's the beauty of it. It can be either, or even a mix of both. They even suggest mixing and matching wood tones to make it more visually interesting.
Oh, I like that.
Maybe a reclaimed wood dining table with sleek, modern chairs, or a rustic wood bench under contemporary art piece.
Ooh, yes! I love that mix of styles. What about metallics? Are those allowed in the modern farmhouse world?
For sure, but they have to be the right metallics.
Okay, so what are we thinking?
Think aged brass, copper, wrought iron. Pieces that have that patina that tell a story.
Gotcha.
Imagine vintage brass drawer pulls on an old dresser, or a copper pot rack above the island in a farmhouse kitchen.
I'm sold. I can smell the fresh baked bread already. Speaking of details that add character, what about vintage finds? Family heirlooms?
The source is all about it. It's all about that balance between old and new.
Yes, but I'm always scared of going overboard with the vintage. Any tips on how to incorporate it without making my house look like an antique shop?
It's all about balance. Don't be afraid to mix it up. You could have a vintage rug with a modern sofa, or display antique textiles with contemporary artwork.
I love that. It's like creating a visual story with the things you love. And speaking of things we love, light. We can't forget about natural light.
It's crucial, especially in these spaces.
So true. So how do we make sure we're thinking about natural light when picking our colors?
Well, they point out that the direction your room faces drastically changes how a color looks. Like, a north-facing room is going to have cooler light than a south-facing room.
That's so true.
So the same color is going to look totally different in each space.
Tell me about it. I learned that the hard way once. I picked out this gorgeous greige paint at the store, looked perfect under their fluorescent lights, got it on my living room walls, and disaster. It looked like straight up lavender in the natural light.
It happens to the best of us.
Uh,
But that's why testing is so important.
Honestly, you're preaching to the choir,
Mhm.
but that's part of what makes it fun, figuring out what works best in your space.
Totally. And that's something to keep in mind as we talk about those bolder color pairings.
Okay, yeah,
Even just a little shift in light can totally change how those colors look.
makes sense. So are we ready to go back to those unexpected combos and figure out how to make them work?
I'm ready if you are. Let's do it.
You know, it's funny. We've been talking about all these paint colors, but I'm suddenly craving some fresh air. Maybe it's time to take this modern farmhouse inspiration outside. What do you think?
I was just thinking that. One of the things I love about this source, about 55 modern farmhouse paint palette color schemes, is that it actually goes beyond just the interiors. It talks about extending your style to your home's exterior.
Okay, yes. Curb appeal is real. So how do they recommend we create that perfect modern farmhouse exterior?
Seamless transition. That's
Yeah.
what it's all about. Stepping out your back door and feeling like it's just a natural extension of your living room.
Yes, like you're creating this whole outdoor room that's just as stylish and inviting as your indoor space.
Exactly. And they say a great place to start is with your front door.
The front door,
It's
okay.
the first thing people see, so it's your chance to make a statement.
Oh, I'm here for a statement door. But again, so many colors. Where do we even begin?
Well, for that classic modern farmhouse look, you really can't go wrong with a deep green.
Yeah.
They mentioned Sherwin-Williams Evergreen Fog specifically. It's like a warm hug for your home. Picture it with brass hardware and a vintage milk jug filled with flowers.
Okay, stop. It's too cute. I love it. But for those of us who are feeling a little bit more adventurous, something other than the classic green.
Okay, so they actually recommend a deep navy blue,
Okay.
like Sherwin-Williams
Oh,
navel,
yes.
especially against a crisp white farmhouse. Black shutters, so good.
Oh my gosh, I'm obsessed. It's unexpected, but it works. Like the little black dress of exterior paint colors.
Yes,
Timeless, elegant, but modern.
and another way to add a modern twist, play around with your trim color. So white is always classic, but if you go with a contrasting color, maybe like a deep charcoal gray, it just adds that little something.
Oh, I love that. Okay, we've got the front door covered. What about the rest of it? Shutters, window boxes, all those little details.
Balance. If you've gone with a bolder door color, maybe stick with neutrals for the other elements.
Hmm.
Create that cohesive look that's interesting, but not too overdone.
Like we're making a little color palette for the exterior of our house, just like we did for the inside.
Exactly.
Now, what about the finishing touches? Outdoor furniture, planters, all of that.
They're all about natural textures for outside. So think like weather-resistant wood furniture, woven planters, maybe even some vintage metal accents.
Yes, creating those cozy vibes even outside. And it probably helps tie the exterior back to the farmhousey interior.
100%, it makes it feel cohesive and harmonious.
As we're going through all of this with the help of our friends at 55 Modern Farmhouse Paint Palette Color Schemes, I'm realizing it really is about so much more than just the paint.
Right.
It's a whole feeling.
It's about creating a feeling and experience.
So well said. Whether it's a bold paint color or a vintage find or a houseplant that reminds you of your grandma.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong way to do it.
Exactly.
It's about having fun and creating a home that you love.
So well said. Well, on that note, it's time to say farewell. We hope you enjoyed this colorful adventure as much as we did.
We'll see you next time.
Until then, happy decorating.